This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. Boy, oh boy, unfortunately sometimes doesn't include Auburn sports, but we're still happy to have those Auburn sports. Yes, sometimes it includes ups and downs, highs and lows, a little bit of luck, a little bit of miracles, but also you have to be prepared for those miracles. It also includes little shops in the corner of College and Magnolia serving the best lemonade, but it also includes those little mom and pop stores that so tastefully hint at being part of the Auburn family when you visit them across the nation. It's somebody over in Spain. It's somebody in Pelham, Alabama. But of course, it's about all of us in the Auburn family because we are all part of the Auburn experience. And that is what we discuss here on this podcast. And of course, the experience is always better with more people. And that's why I always have my co-host, my friend, Austin Scott. Welcome back, sir.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, War Eagle Kyle. Really great weekend on the Plains homecoming, which just encompasses the Auburn experience all in all. Great turnout for Toomer's Corner after the game. Lots of toilet paper thrown. Lots of people experiencing Auburn for the first time. Just a great weekend for a lot of people to come home. And it was an exciting weekend for sure. We'll get into all of it and more, I'm sure. But man, what a great weekend every year it is for homecoming at Auburn.
We're going to dive a little bit more into just the homecomingness of it all. Like, you know, the stuff that's pretty much outside of the actual football game, whether it's a good or bad, things that I experienced, maybe Austin saw and experienced this weekend as well, that go into that. We usually spend the first segment here kind of talking about what's hot. And that's obviously, you know, the topic of what happened in that football game, if it was a football game in Jordan-Hare Stadium. But just before we dive into those somewhat, you know, not so fun conversations, I will acknowledge with you as well that I think that's sometimes lost, that what a great weekend this was, if you have the right perspective about things. You know, I mean, Auburn is such a unique and amazing place, and sometimes we forget in the frustrations of a football team that can't find its footing that it's much bigger than even the outcome of a football game, even when we win. I want to remind folks out there, we did win a football game. Yes, was there luck involved a little bit, but luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And you can continue to argue with me all you want on that, online, whatever. I'm going to continue to throw that in your face. I'm going to be honest, Austin. I'm a little bit salty after the game. Not even so much about the football team, just about some of our response. So you're going to have to keep me in check tonight.
Oh boy, that's a tall task for both of us to have to ask the other to keep in check, but we'll do our best.
I was crotchety in episode 2 and 3, I think, about how the team was performing. Now I'm just salty about everything else now. And I think maybe obviously if our team was doing a little better, that wouldn't even happen, but it is what it is. Austin, hey, help me make sense of what we saw. I mean, it's the hot topic right now. I'm sitting over here just trying to find a way to put a lipstick on a pig, but help me understand what we saw during that. Remind you, this is a homecoming game.
The homecoming game. Yeah, the homecoming game that Auburn doesn't normally schedule against conference opponents. I think that's just the way the schedule fell this year. But it was an offensive clinic by both teams, I thought. Just really well done on both sides of the field, throwing the ball around. We've all seen the screenshot, I'm sure, going around of the 15 consecutive punts. But all accompanied by 3 and outs. Just after halftime, we all just had a great time watching them kick that ball back and forth. The punter from down under sure did do a lot to help his Ray Guy Award candidacy. So good for him. I think that's a positive I'll take.
You weren't aware that that's what this whole season about is to avenge the Ray Guy Awards that should have been earned in the past by several other Auburn punters. That's what this has been about.
It all makes sense now. If you just look at it through that lens, folks. We're getting Oscar Chapman a Ray Guy Award.
I mean, let's think about. I'm blanking on some of their names. You have to help me out here. God, wow!
Aaron Sipos could have easily won a Ray Guy. Stephen Clark could have won a Ray Guy for sure.
Thank you. That's who I was thinking of.
But yeah, it was dreadful. It was dreadful to watch in person, on TV, whatever. And it left a lot of people unhappy. There were a lot of chances for Auburn to pull away in that game, a lot of chances for Missouri to win that game. And in the end, it took down to the very last play at the very last inch for Auburn to come away with a win. But whew, it was something, and a whole lot of responses came to it.
And let me just say this too, just from the other side's perspective. And I almost felt bad for Missouri. And it was just kind of the way when you're walking around. Yeah, when your team loses, especially if it's on the road, you kind of walk around sheepishly on campus while you're going back to your car or taking it. And that, credit to a lot of the Missouri fans that stuck around and kind of took in Toomer's Corner
Yeah,
just to see the spectacle. Because hey guys, this was the first time they've ever visited too. I don't know if y'all knew that. We were talking about that pre-show with some of the people on YouTube. Another unique scenario there, and they almost got out of here with their first win the first time ever visiting too. But they were just like sitting around at tailgates, like some of them even like cross-legged on the ground, just kind of like I don't know. And like and then the Auburn fans would sit next to him and be like, man, I don't know either. I, I don't know. I want to be. I'm happy, but I don't know, man. This is rough. This is tough.
yeah. I mean, it was just both teams left being like, "Did either of us win that game?" I don't really know. There was a fan near us who was a Missouri fan, and a friend of mine was actually sitting next to him, and was telling me that after the game they were just kind of stunned, and he kind of patted him back and was like, "I'm glad. Thanks for coming. Sorry about how." And he was like, "Man," he was like, "I don't know what just happened." And he was just like, he was like, "I'm glad Auburn won because I've been dealing with this since the '70s." And I guess Missouri, he just seemed down in the dumps on Missouri football. And I guess that's kind of how we're all feeling. It's, I don't know. And whatever that was, it happened, I guess.
Yeah, so just, it is what it is. Auburn walked out with a win, and I think you should be thankful for that. I also echo, and I wish you could have seen me in the stands. I had great seats in the upper deck, like front. I wasn't the front row. I was basically there. Could see
Yeah.
everything. It was a great place to be for a homecoming game, to see all the festivities of that. And everything that's not even with homecoming. Then the War Eagle flight just was a great, beautiful day. A little bit warm, but not too warm for the most part of it. Did the little sunburn. But I mean, as the game went on, you just felt like the way we started is like, listen, this is the home game, or this is the homecoming everybody needed right here. And you're like feeling
Yeah.
high, 14-0. And then it happened. And I don't know what we watched. We got to see Holden Gerner for the very first time. Poor kid.
He's just trying to play football, and God love him. He just is
He,
thrown in there. Didn't expect to play probably this season, and he's just thrown in there in the SEC game at home when there's so much outside noise. And for what all is going on, good for him for getting in there and doing what he could.
it's so funny because I obviously in the stands, but I can only imagine the people that had a good vantage point on TV could see probably his eyes. I bet they were
Oh,
just like as wide as saucers.
had to be huge.
Just like, because let's be honest, folks, and this is not we kind of sound like we've taken some shots at Missouri fans. You're still part of the SEC, and you're a Power Five school, even if you weren't part of the SEC. So that's Power Five talent. It may not be the
Yeah,
same level, as some other in the Power Five or the SEC, but it's still Power Five talent. And so that's who's coming up against him and coming to knock his head off, essentially. And to his credit, I think I remember one good throw that he had kind of
yeah,
zinged in there. And I don't remember who that was to, but I was like, all right, I kind of like what I see there. Is, he also had that little flip out into the flats that was a lateral that almost was a fumble.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Freshman
Hey, he's a
mistakes.
little slow. He's a little bit slower, which we expected, given he's a little pocket passer quarterback, and with this line, you can't really be slow. And so he was learning on the job, and good for him. And regardless if Holden Geriner ever plays a snap again, he got to play college football in the SEC for about 4 or 5 plays, and good for him. And I hope we get to see a lot more of Holden Geriner having success in Jordan Hare
So
someday.
let's be honest about this game, and as we always remind you, we'll have a deeper dives into the game on our Monday night live streams. We do breakdowns and grades, usually with Ben King, and he'll be hopefully back this week to discuss and break down and grade this debacle of a game. But on the scale of frustration and relief or or however you want to say, the positive scale, the negative scale, how you felt after this game, were you more thankful or were you closer to frustration by the end of it? And be
Oh,
honest.
man.
I
Well,
know.
I definitely throughout the whole game went all the way, both sides all the whole time. Where I landed is a good question. Probably, uh, about middle leaning frustrated. Glad we won. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You have 3 you're 3-1 on the year, and you're 1-0 in the SEC. Everything is so cheesy and so coach speak, but everything you want is still in front of you, as bleak as it might seem.
Yeah.
But you won. Given all that, there's frustrations because you see same issues we've been talking about. You see all the same things that everyone's talking about that with issues with this team, and are things going to get right? And you're just not sure, and we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know when things are going to go. But it's such a weird time in Auburn football right now, where it just feels like we're all just stuck right here
To
trying to
quote
watch what goes by.
to quote a coach, I'm never mind. I'm gonna be nice, but to quote a certain coach, "Buckle up, folks. This is Auburn football."
Yeah, truth.
Let, let's jump into our second topic tonight, and it's still about homecoming, but it's the good stuff about homecoming, and that's what we really needed. And I'll be honest with you, this is what I needed during this season, even with the game we just discussed, the frustrations of it. If you discredit and discount homecoming, you miss out on so much. And when I tell folks to, like, A-Day weekend, when it's done properly with the planning, athletic events and otherwise, is some of the best Auburn experience you have. I would say the same for homecoming as well. And there's no reason for them not to just pile you up with opportunities to experience Auburn on homecoming weekend, not just the day, but weekend. I had a blast all weekend for a variety of reasons. But can I just quote, or I'm going to try to quote, but let me ask this question first, Austin. Did you happen, and I know you saw it in the stand, but did you happen to see the video that they made for homecoming with Lady A, as they're now called, Compass, the
Yeah.
song? Thoughts on that? I mean, I don't want to sway you one way or the other. How'd you feel about that video?
Oh, I loved it. My wife and I watched it that morning, actually. They put it
Yep.
out on social media. The E2C account retweeted it, or quote tweeted, or embedded it, however you want to say it. And we saw it, and I just thought it was great. Auburn does that homecoming home video every year, and it's a little bit different, but it all shows the sights of campus, and not necessarily the game or anything, game action, but the things you come back for, that you participate all the whole weekend outside of just going to the football game.
Mhm.
And it makes you get a little misty eyed. It just makes you feel good.
Dang it, Auburn. Stop it right now. You stop with this making me have to but just bring my glasses down when it's not even sunny out, just so that people won't see me getting all misty eyed. Dag nabbit. My
They
goodness. I don't
nail it.
know who's in charge there, but you need to stop it, sir.
They nail it,
Goodness.
and it was good. Like, that was kind of the things we ended the podcast with last week, is talking about, is this homecoming. I know there's a lot of frustration around the team, but this was the weekend to come back to Auburn and see different things you love, and stir up those feelings for a school that means so much to so many of us. And a simple 2-minute video encompassed a whole lot of that.
If it wouldn't get us, YouTube strikes, because we are recording this live on YouTube, I would play it right now for you, just so y'all could watch me try not to get misty eyed. I'm not joking, Austin. When I've watched this thing, at least on my way back, or listened to it in the background, at least 5 times. Like, I cannot get enough of it. I think every year they make a new one, and I'm like, they'll never do better than that one, and they do it every single time. So if you haven't watched the video, go watch the video. It's like, I think, barely over a minute, but it just is amazing. And of course, like, the
Yeah.
first words from the song they play, it's been a bumpy road, and we're all like, man, I feel that, right? Because
Amen.
I think it's
Amen.
like, just because of that alone, it got people in their feels already. It has been a bumpy road. And so
There's no other way to describe it.
the words, I remember that the narrator, and I don't know who that is, but it's the same guy every time that does that. And he says, I'm gonna try to get it right here. Some of us are seeing this, are experiencing for this for the first time. Some of us, this is all we know. Some of
Yeah.
us are coming back. Some of us never left. And when, hold on, when they said that and they showed Pat Dye in that, that's what got me. Because you realize the man, yeah, he lived outside of Auburn when he got, fired essentially, but he
Right.
never left Auburn. That's what got me. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when they showed Pat Dye when he first arrived, and just as an old man standing on a fence post, just smiling back at us, I'm like, dang, never. I hate
They
y'all
had it
so much.
all. They knew which
Okay,
strings to pull.
yeah, and so there were some other words I can't even remember right now because I'm getting misty eyed right now just thinking about that segment in it. But it is a great video. I will watch it 5 other times before I go to bed tonight, just because of how good it is. So, other stuff. How much did you get to experience outside of the actual game, or did you get to do any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. So one of my favorite things every single year about homecoming, um, is it's I don't think many people will say this, is the floats. I
Yes,
love the homecoming floats. And I was looking up today before I talked about this because I wanted to make sure I had it right. But this is perfect. This is a E2C podcast, and I'm able to give a shameless plug here, but it was actually what I was looking for. You can Google Auburn Homecoming Floats 2022. The very first video that pops up is a video done by
we
Kyle
got you
Loomis
covered.
of the
We got you
floats.
covered.
And it's great footage. You get to see every one of them. It's exactly what you need. But I love the floats. And some of them you just every year, some of them just aren't very good, and
It's
it's
struggle.
okay.
It's
It's
struggle.
usually the same fraternity and sororities every year, but some of them put really good
Yeah,
effort into them. They make sure all that little tissue paper is real tight, and it all looks really good. Normally I feel like when I walked by before the game, and it might be because the game was at 11, they've already awarded
I
ribbons
think
and to
so.
which one's winning. But when I walked by on Saturday, I guess they hadn't done. I couldn't find who won. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at it which one should win.
I don't know that it
Um,
is, and I'll tell you why in a second.
really?
Yeah, I mean, they probably already
I
announced it, but yeah.
I don't know who won. I still don't right now. But I thought Fiji and someone else, whoever the sorority accompanying them, theirs was like the big one with the jumbotron and had stands on it, had the two, or was it the Tiger Walk sign, or
Yeah,
was
yep,
it?
yep, that
Yeah,
was
that
some
one
version of that.
was super good and looked really clean. I can't remember the other one I really liked, but I don't know who
The
won.
Sanford Hall replica?
Yeah, yeah, that was the one I mean, from the ground up, miniature Sanford Hall, about, like maybe 4 or 5 feet high, was really good. Um, And then there were some other okay ones, but they all look really good, and I'm always impressed that somehow students in their time figure out how to put all that together on
Yeah.
homecoming week. But that is one of my favorite parts to always see, because people get pretty creative.
Listen, Fiji House, if you don't know who Fiji House is, they are the ones right across from the library. They're very loud, and you
Yes.
hear them on game days. And to their credit, I love that they give the business, that what the referee used to say, give them 50 yards, giving them the business to
Yeah.
the opposing buses as they come in and just let them have it. I'm like, yeah, you keep living that Auburn dream, people. You just keep doing that. So credit to Fiji House, because I would definitely say they are in the running for the best one because of the amount of effort that went into that. The
Yeah.
the size along with detail, but that Sanford Hall, and to be honest, when I got a video of it, some the elements had kind of gotten to some of the tissue paper a little bit because I saw it
Mhm.
during the parade. I saw that Sanford Hall come by and I went, holy crap. And I was like, that's the
Yeah.
winner. And then I saw Fiji Houses and I was like, oh my gosh. Like that. I mean, I don't know who's going to win this year. Usually, I will say last year when I did it, there was a clear winner. I can't remember. We have a video of that too if you want to go back and look at it. But I went by this year, and there were others too that I felt that were worthy of winning something if they'd give different categories.
Right.
But those are the two standouts right
I
there,
think you
clearly.
hit it on the head too, because the Sanford one was so, well, like, down to a perfect replica. But that Fiji one was huge.
Yeah,
Like, I
that was a
was
lot of effort.
amazed at how big it was, and then, like, they're usually the size of the jumbotron. They already do, and then, like, behind it, they've got the Tiger Walk sign, and so I think they had a tree or something else, and I was just like,
Mhm.
this is a whole lot of tissue paper."
Yeah, using that
So,
to bounce into, like, further stuff with homecoming week, if, the floats in the parade is so much fun. It usually goes through, main of not downtown Auburn, but Toomer's Corner, College and Mag, Thatch, that kind of area, the big square, and,
yeah.
comes back for a pep rally. This year, because they were celebrating 150 years of the mechanical and ag portion of Auburn is what it began as, they were doing an event that night, so they couldn't have the entire band like they did last year up
Mm,
there. So it was the piped in music for it. But if you haven't done that, it may seem cheesy. It may seem, but I think that's one of the best things out there is to see the student organizations having fun. Obviously, the fraternities, sororities,
such
and that's a new one right
easy for
there.
you to say, yeah.
This is how Kyle's had a rough week and he can't speak worse than he already can. Um, but yeah, that I would recommend that. I had a great time with that this weekend, getting to do that. The floats were great, and just the next thing I'm going to say about homecoming weekend is going to sound kind of mean, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's almost like a purging of certain parts of the fandom. Is that too mean? Is that too mean,
No, I
Austin?
get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
These are the people you come to homecoming because you love Auburn. And not to say that that makes you less of an Auburn fan or anything like that, but I feel like when I'm there at homecoming because of the inability to fill up the stadium, these are the people that truly are here for the big reasons. And listen, people have, I know things happen, there's other priorities,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of you out there didn't come, had tickets and didn't sell the tickets because you don't like the way things are going. And you just, all those kind of petty reasons. And I just felt like that day that I was with the cream of the crop. And like, I don't think I'm worthy of that sometimes. So it's kind of like, wow, I'm part of this today. This is the
Yeah.
people who, when they see that video, whether it's on your phone or in the stadium, they're getting misty eyed too. And I think the same thing. I got tickets from a alleged Alabama fan who was there at the game because their child is in the band, but you can kind of see she loves Auburn a little bit. It's infecting her too. And you could almost see it in her. She's getting it too, this family vibe. So I just love it, man. I really do. I know it makes me cheesy, you call me sunshine pumper all you want. I love me some homecoming weekend. Just and the weather, yeah, it obviously got a little bit warm. And the game wasn't
Oh,
great, but everything else was just great.
yes, it could have been a lot hotter, that's for sure, and
Mhm.
has been on the last weekend of September in the past. But yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. It's the homecoming weekend, the whole festivities, whether it's the alumni band with the
I didn't
marching
even
band
mention
on the
that.
field. I mean, you know, and then crowning homecoming queen, all that just is so much bigger than just a football game, and the football game is used to really cap it all off. But just a great weekend, really fun, and just so, appreciate homecoming, folks. Not just because the football team might be struggling, but just appreciate what it means to have, like Kyle said, so much of the Auburn family, the true Auburn family, back and experiencing what they love about Auburn, not just related to athletics.
And just like the video says, it doesn't matter how you're experiencing Auburn for the first time, for the
That's
thousandth
right.
time, whether you've been there the whole time or you long to be back. We all call it the same thing, home.
Mm.
And that's why it's homecoming. Section 3, part 2 or 3, whatever you call it. I was trying to be French there, but it didn't work. Um, that's the nature of doing a podcast live. Can't edit that out, Kyle. Listen, we're actually kind of doing this live, audible here, unless Austin has something else he wants to hit. We're going to kind of go with something we had a little bit planned on the fly there. And do you have anything, Austin, that you'd like to hit other than that topic?
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I really like what we've talked about for this next section. I'm interested. It has to do with us doing this live in a way because
Yeah,
we
it does.
interact with a certain individual. But I'm
It,
excited to hear about this from how it went from your perspective.
listen, we're just call me sunshine pumper all you want again. We're trying to give you some positivity on a very bleak season right now, even though we still have everything in front of us, believe it or not.
Right.
Auburn homecoming is great. Experiencing Auburn for the first time again, and what I mean by that is not, you can't obviously experience again yourself. Once it gets in you, you know what it is. You may not be able to explain it, but experiencing Auburn through the eyes of someone else for the first time is unexplainable. And I'm
Mm,
talking about you, Miss Devon, and your husband, who's a UW fan, a Washington fan, but I think we started converting him officially this weekend. Getting to experience was one of the best pleasures of my life, because I've also gotten to experience that in some ways through Dee Ford. And I think most of us know who Dee Ford is, not the footballer, as she would say, but the lady, the sweet little British lady from London who loves Auburn more than I ever could. And she's barely been an Auburn fan. I mean, she's like an infant compared to the majority of us in our Auburn, legacy. But I don't think I'm worthy to tie her shoes. But to get to experience like the things like with her for D, like her first Tiger Walk, her first Tumors, corner rolling, the first game, obviously got to do a lot of those similar things, but on homecoming weekend with Miss Devin Wistrom. Like, Devin, thank you for letting me do that. That was absolutely. Have you ever gotten to do that? I mean, with like a peer or something like that before?
yeah, no, I don't know, I'd have to think. Actually, yes, I have. I've gotten to do it on a couple occasions with a friend of ours, who's been down to Auburn, and we've gotten to show her around camps, everything outside of a football weekend. And then last year, the Ole Miss game, we got her to come to a game and got to do it all again. I think that was the end of October, just perfect Auburn football weather and a great game, and just got to experience all of it again with all that comes with the Auburn game day. And so, um, it's just it's hard to explain unless you just do it, and I think that's kinda what you're gonna get at. But just being able to show this bits and pieces that words can't adequately describe, but
Mhm.
you just get to see them see it and see what it means to you. And so, yeah, that's a joy, is to get to be able to show Auburn off to someone who's never gotten to see it, and see them come away, even if it's just a little bit, with the love you have for it.
And it's the funny thing too, because Devin started like hinting at this, like, and it seemed like kind of like a joke at first. We need a tour guide, the kind that we always do. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm down. And I don't think I had to like contain myself to like this is what I love to do, like just show people Auburn and talk about my stories, but obviously the wider stories as well. Let me tell you the level of detail I went with her and her
Oh
husband.
boy.
We met at Alumni Hall, which is a new part of Auburn, obviously, but we
Sure.
met there and then came across, because one of my favorite places in Auburn, Funchess, aka Fungus Hall, because the fungus department is literally, or it was at my time, in the bottom
Mhm.
basement floor, and it kind of looks and smells like fungus is down there. But the building as a whole has this certain smell that I smell it right now. And I told them this. I said, I know what this is going to smell like before I walk in. Sure enough, walked in there. It's like I was in class again. Same, stuffed head of a bear and
Yep,
a moose is in there.
I can
Uh,
picture it.
it's awesome. My professor found him on the wall. I said, look, right now, this isn't even about you guys. This is about me. I'm just living the life right here, imagining my senior year, which was one of the best years of my life outside of Mary and Jessica. I said it. It's said, okay. So
It's on
nobody,
record.
it's
That's on
on the
record.
record. Getting engaged on Auburn campus to the love of my life was the best day, year ever. I said it on live. It's here. It's on posterity. We went and did in our limited time. That was the biggest problem, Austin, is how do you share Auburn
Mm,
in 2 hours?
mm,
How? Like, how do you do that? So
yo.
before I share more about like, if you have 2 hours, what do you hit when you share
Oh
Auburn for the
my
first time?
gosh. 2 hours. We're going downtown, for the drugstore and lemonade. I mean, that every people outside of Auburn that don't know Auburn know about the lemonade and drugstore. So that's a yes. Tumor's Corner is a yes. I I'll tell you, we usually start there and we walk. We get them lemonades, so they're nice and full, and sipping on it. We go by the picture spot. We go through Sanford Hall. We go down the main concourse, point out Foley. We got our route, point out the quad, point out Haley, the big things. Go in the bookstore, see if we can get them to buy a couple shirts, and do the green space and the whole. I mean, you just take that big as lap of excuse me, as big of a lap as you can, to show them all of campus. But I like starting and ending where campus meets downtown, just because that's where the community hits, and Auburn is just plopped in the middle of this little town, and that's kind of how it feels. Like the students are just plopped in with the community, that people that have been here or live here after they graduated, or have lived here for just forever. And so, um, 2 hours is so hard. I just I don't know how
It
you
was it was rough.
encompass it all.
I was
But
sweating.
you started in Funchess, so 2 hours from there, how'd you end up?
We actually made a pit stop into the library. I would ask them, I was like, "Look, I'm gonna show you everything I can. If so, you're gonna have to tell me I'm too tired. You're gonna have to tell me
Yeah.
that's enough. Kyle, shut up." We went to the library, and I showed them, the big addition to it now, and walked them through that a little bit. We went to what is the big gear thing called again? The
The
lathe.
lathe,
The lathe.
the lathe,
Told them the legend of how if you
of course.
kiss your lovely lady there and it starts spinning, she's not an
Or
Auburn
lovely man.
woman.
Yep,
And the story is that it never spins because it's rusted shut. So every Auburn woman is an Auburn woman. So there you
that's
go.
right.
Talked about the seal, the many stories of the War Eagle at Centennial Garden right there between Foy and the back of Sanford. And,
Mm.
one of the stories I was told, and it's not obviously part of the official 4 stories that they have about the War Eagle, is that it died there in the center of
Oh
that.
my. No, I
But,
have not heard that one.
that was like the first one I ever heard. I was like, that's not real. As fantastical as they always are.
Yeah.
Sadly enough, we did not have time to get to Toomer's Corner for the drugstore until she did at the end of the day. So she took care.
Well,
I
yeah.
like, but one of the most fun things we did is we went to Mama Goldberg's, and I'm just speaking for myself, so they may think differently, and just spent about 2 hours there, having some good old Mama's love and just chatting it up in that musty old
There
building,
you go.
like just
Absolutely.
sitting around and talking about Auburn in a place like that is technically not even on campus, even though campus is just across the street from it.
Right.
And it's just like, again, you talk about those intersection points of where campus meets the community, and it's just not even the community, it's the people that live there, it's the people that come back there.
Yes.
We all meet there together because we love this place, whether it's you're actually on campus or not. So those were the big highlights of my day. Of course, we did the pep rally, the things that we talked about in the second segment about homecoming stuff and Tiger Walk, of course, too, and Spirit March.
Yep.
So the funny thing about this, Austin, is in all of this discussion that we just had, whether you just gave me your scenario or not, did you notice something? We barely mentioned sports.
Mm.
Isn't that weird?
It's pretty preposterous, Kyle. How could you not?
But doesn't that also say something to you about the Auburn experience? The fact that when you ask, someone says, "Oh, where'd you go to school?" Auburn. Oh, Auburn. What's some of the first things they say?
Oh, what's going on with the football program, or what's
Well,
going
not
on?
currently, Austin.
I'm
We're in
sorry.
a feel-good segment right now. Shut your dirty mouth. Don't you ruin this. In a typical, like, normal year, whether Auburn's really good or just blah, what do they typically say?
When asking about Auburn?
You say, "Oh, I'm from Auburn." They go, "What?" Like just what's something that somebody would say to you normally?
Someone would ask me about the lemonade, or
Really?
ask me about. I've had people ask me if they've never had it. If
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm really blowing this. I'm trying to pick up what
Well,
you're what you're
I
asking.
guess what I'm saying is they'd say, "Oh, Cam Newton. Oh, the national championship.
Oh, I
Oh, the
see.
kick
Yeah, yeah.
six."
Some
That's
of the
my
big
point.
national moments. Yeah,
Exactly. They take those broad moments and stuff like that. But when we show Auburn, yeah, we're always looking to that stadium down there, that, Plainsman Park. We're looking, to Neville Arena now. We're going to get there, but it's so much bigger than
yeah,
that. It's so much better than that. And and for people that are so grumpy and upset, I think you've missed that. I think you've missed the beauty of Auburn and the beauty of the Auburn people. That's
yeah,
like that to me. Sitting in Mama Goldberg's with someone who's experiencing Auburn for the first time for 2 hours, just chatting it up and getting in trouble with my wife because I hadn't called her back yet. I shouldn't say it's worth it, because I'm really skating on thin ice here in this podcast with my wife,
yeah,
and she's
yeah.
just down the
Kyle,
hall.
I'm supposed to
So
keep you in check here. I'm supposed to keep you in check.
if someone comes in the room and rips me out of the view of the camera right now, you know what happened. So just keep that in mind.
I'll be
Anyway,
watching.
I hope you, Austin, I hope you get the chance soon to experience that again, because experiencing Auburn for the first time as much as you can through someone's eyes is amazing.
Yeah, well, and we've been alluding to it with Devin here in the last few weeks as we chat with her before and after we record, and it's been a big build up, and I'm really glad it all worked out and that you guys got to do that, and I'm glad she got to be with you, Kyle, and you get to show True Auburn on a homecoming weekend, no less. And so, what an exciting time, and that's what it's about. That's what it's
It's
about right there, is showing the Auburn experience.
And look, we went the full gamut there. Depression, sadness, reality to happiness. So it
That's
can be
right.
done. It absolutely can be done. And we thank you guys for obviously tuning into another episode of listening to us just ramble on about how much we love Auburn, even the struggles of Auburn at time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you do want to catch up with me on Twitter, you can do so at Kyle Loomis24 on Twitter. Obviously, follow all the E2C network stuff across all of social media, and of course on YouTube and the podcasts. Where can they find you, Austin?
At Austin G. Scott. Let's have a good week, and it's LSU week. That's always a fun game too. That nothing ever goes awry in that game or anything weird in that game. So another good week to come back to Auburn, though.
And now my anxiety has risen yet again. Thank you, Austin.
Get ready for it, Kyle. Get ready for it.
I'm never ready for it. Well, in some ways, I always am. Thank you, guys. I hope you're ready for this week, and we'll be back with you very soon for another episode of the Auburn Experience. War Eagle.
War Eagle.